All right, like 1 minute early. That's okay. See if it'll pick up my live stream there. Yeah, we're connected. Here we go. Nice, nice. There should be a chat bar in here. Should show me the chat bar. Where did it go? Chat bar decided not to show up. The chat bar has exited the chat as it was. So it is. Okay. Uh, yeah, the Corvus Cast is now live once again from late night Moline, Illinois, and welcome everybody. I appreciate all of you for coming, stopping in, hanging out, doing whatever. Um, I realize that it's late, lots of stuff going on, normal time, normal channel, all that jazz. So once again, welcome to the Corvus Cast, where the host isn't particularly attractive, the jokes aren't funny, and we just talk about made-up stuff anyways. Just a guy trying to do some lightsaber stuff. So I hope that you're tuning in and having fun. I hope that you want to come out here and see some lightsaber things. I got some stuff off to the right that I'm going to show you later tonight. So kind of excited about it. It's the first shot that we've had at doing pommels. So I'll show you some pommel stuff. I'm hoping that people show up and they want to see this stuff, and if not, you can catch it later, whatever. I don't have it down in the chat. I don't even have a chat, to be totally honest with you. If you are in the Discord, or you are in Discord and you do Discord stuff, you're welcome to join the Corvus Saber Foundry's Roost Discord. We invite people pretty much openly. We do any old invite. Let's see here. Let me get this new invite link here. Generate me a new link. Let's copy that sucker. And we'll get it in the chat right now. If you are not a member of the Discord, you're welcome to join the Discord. It's in the chat box below, or to the side, I think, or on one of these sides. I don't know where it's at on YouTube. I'm not really that good at it. Join the Discord. We talk about designs, and if you want to be on the cutting edge, the leading edge of design work, get into the builds, or get into the devs and new releases channel, and that's where we do our design work. I take inputs from you, my customers, for designs and items that you want to see. In fact, here in the next couple of weeks, I'm probably going to be taking another bit of input from people to find out what things they want to see, and we'll go forward from there. So I'm just going to put out here in the chat here that we're live. I guess one of the crappy things in the last couple of nights has been one of the issues. Maybe not one of the issues, but one of the things that came up was, there's been really wild weather around, and so I know I got a lot of folks down Texas way that pick up my parts. So I hope all of you are safe. I'm really sorry to hear about what happened, and I look forward to seeing the recovery come out of that space. It's really tragic what ended up happening down there in Texas with the flash floods. And then, as if fortuitous, maybe not fortuitous, maybe like foretelling what was actually going to end up happening too, my area got hit with really heavy rains and some flash flooding in that space. So I don't know if I have any customers over in the Iowa side, but they got hit pretty bad. So keep some folks in your thoughts, and also New Mexico. Keep those people in your thoughts. Hopefully things come out okay for them. I know that it probably won't. There's a lot of young lives lost, and that's really unfortunate. Off of serious stuff, we've got some upcoming changes happening. The website continues to go through evolutions, and so last week we talked. I had made mention that some of the listings on the website, you might start to see like a 3D play sort of thing show up. I picked up a website. I picked up with a website called Sketchfab, and they have a really cool like 3D design piece. Not 3D design, excuse me, a 3D render piece. So you can submit your STLs, and it will allow you to see them in 3D. And so I thought that would be a really good addition to put on some of the more complex pieces that we have. I'm limited to a certain number of uploads a month, and so I'm kind of chipping away here and there, putting in new pieces, some of the newer items right out the gate, the ones that people want to see and want to play with, in the hopes that you guys will be able to manipulate them in that space. Granted, they don't connect together like I would really want them to. It's going to take me some time to come up with something like that, but eventually, hopefully, I'll get to a spot where I can figure out how to build a configurator for all of my stuff. And so what I really like to do is be able to provide that, but it seems like configurators are all the rage nowadays. I don't know. It's not really that big a deal to me. But I do think it's cool that you guys get an opportunity to like manipulate the stuff in space, and you can kind of look at it for different angles to figure out how it's going to fit onto your saber of choice. And so I'm going to continue trying to add new pieces like that to the best of my abilities to get it to a point where you guys are comfortable with the parts that you see, and you're really interested in playing around with them. More so than anything, I want to see what you guys are putting them on, the sabers that you guys are putting them on. And as we continue to round out and build out more parts to create, I'm really excited to see what you bring out, because the more pictures that we get, the more examples that I can get out there of the parts that are in use. In fact, I want to give a big shout out to a fella named Mark Ryan, I believe is his name. He's been pretty popular in the universal lightsaber community, and so he's been showing up quite a bit with some of his designs. They kind of harken back to an older style, really simple design, which I'm really fond of. And some of the saber parts that we have from Corvus Saber Foundry ended up in a couple of his builds, not on a VHC build, mind you. It was on MHS V2. And then I also found another individual who had a bunch of other parts. His name, interestingly enough, is Shadewalker Sabers, not to be confused with the Shadewalker Workshop. Two totally separate individuals, two totally separate entities. But the Shadewalker Sabers fella, he submitted to me a bunch of his designs where he used Corvus Saber Foundry shrouds on MHS V1. So I guess if you want to say universal compatibility, you can, like it crosses saber platforms. And so I'm really excited to see people using my parts on other items, and it's giving me hope and desires to want to make parts that will fit on other systems. And so, maybe there in the very near future is an expansion of the parts of the different sliding shrouds that we have into MHS V1. I think that would be really cool to see some shrouds make their way out into the community for MHS V1 from Corvus Saber Foundry as well. People are already using them. It's not stopping people. It's actually really interesting because MHS V1 is bigger and the Corvus shrouds are smaller, and so they kind of perch like on the top as if there's some back relief to the shroud. It makes it look really, really cool. I gotta find that guy's name, but if you look up Shadewalker Sabers, Shadewalker Sabers is the individual, you'll be able to see his work and the stuff that he does. Really, really, really pleased with the outcomes there. I don't want to waste too much time there. Over here on the other side, I've got some stuff that I want to show you, some things that are coming up. So like if people are paying attention in the Discord and in the different spaces in which I'm working, you'll know I've put out posts in Facebook land and Reddit land and all this other stuff, trying to get people, trying to build awareness basically for all the parts. I'm getting pinged by somebody for something, Facebook I think, and I've got a couple of fish in the water, so to speak. So right now I've got one is new set of accent rings. We talked about that last week. I had just gotten the samples, not last week, excuse me, for the last cast. I had gotten the samples and I had shown them on the screen here, and I'm going to do that again because the next component that's coming is the pommel. And the pommel piece, while I was disappointed in the design because it seems like the manufacturer did not follow my design intentions with it, and they decided making whatever they wanted to do with the threading. And so I've got some goofy threading that doesn't fit tolerances. I wasn't terribly happy about it, but it's not a big deal. You just send it back and get another sample. But the two pieces together are going to really add to what the pommel situation is going to be. And so when we start talking about adding new pommels, hopefully there will be more compatibility with different parts. I really like this two-piece pommel system, and I can't wait to show it to you here in just a couple of seconds. So I'm going to go ahead and transition. I do want to say I didn't realize that you could do this inside of OBS 2, but I was having issues with like transitioning between different areas of the podcast or the stream, and so I figured it out. I've got scenes now, and so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and increase the production value of the cast this time around, and we're going to transition over to scene 2, and we're just going to move over here to the right side. Yeah, I got cool new stuff now. All right, so one of the things I wanted to show you guys is the new accent rings, and so hopefully, oh yeah, I'm gonna transition back and answer a question here. I see Ron, Great Wazzy 42, a little shout out here. He said he had seen some of the preview items while we were working on the Discord. He had asked for a preview of what that pommel looks like, and so I gave him obliged him because I wanted to see what it would look like too. And even he says with that disappointment, it looked pretty cool, and the outcome was pretty neat. So I got to do a little bit more work to refine this, and we'll get to that point in short order. But I wanted to show you guys what's in front of you here. This is the entire run of Corvus Saber Foundry shrouds. I gotta take my hat off because I'm gonna keep bumping into this thing. I'm sorry, not of Corvus Saber Foundry shrouds, but of the Corvus Saber Foundry accent ring line. So this would be line 1, this would be line 2, and this is the third line that's coming now in the next couple of weeks. I expect it, maybe not next week, but the week following, probably just in time for August. And so we went through these last week. This piece here is the cam ring, or the camera ring, what I like to call it. It's one of the favorite ones of this set. And then I've got 2 additional we'll call them longsword-esque rings with different concave shapes inside of them, as well as one final ring, which I'll bring this up for comparison because it's important to show you, is these 2 rings are the exact same width. So width-wise, they're the same. One is rounded while the other is trapezoidal in shape, and I did that so you have like a nice simple, a simple transitional ring. So one of them would be really nice, for an elegant, maybe less elegant, but more of a more conventional type longsword with that rounded edge, while this one here would be a little bit slightly different, more technical level piece. But I wanted to have 2 of these items that were pretty close in size, and it just worked to build it off of the original shape. So I've got those 2 there. And then the next piece that I want to show and highlight here, I'm going to move these off to the side so that they're not continuing to be in the way here. So I can show the pièce de résistance, or so to speak. So here is what is the next adapter that's coming. And I'm struggling whether or not I want to just bill this as a actual adapter, or if I want to call it the pommel adapter, or some sort of pommel system or some such. But the reason I say that is this is the first adapter that I've made that isn't a straight through 25 or 25.4 millimeter or 1 inch straight shot through. This is actually necked down on the inside to about 20 millimeters. And I got my mic here that I can check what that is to see. It's right at 20 millimeters. Yeah. So it's necked down to 20 millimeters inside. And so the more intrepid of you thinking about how to use this, it kind of doesn't fit in between like a grip or like a ring segment, right? Not ring, excuse me. It doesn't fit between a switch or a ring. Gosh darn, my brain isn't working today. A switch or a grip segment, man. I wish I could get this funk to go away quite as easily, because you have to do a little bit of modification to get that to work, right? But I really like this neck down shape, and in order to get a more dramatic neck sort of shape to it, I needed to dip into that space between the 33 millimeter and the 25.6, and so I went with whoops, I guess I could get it into the frame here. I had to go with a slightly more dramatic neck. I think I like that better. In order to create that really heavily neck down shape. And so technically you could kind of call this a thin neck adapter if you wanted to, but it's not really a thin neck. It's more of like a thick neck. It doesn't quite fit into the thin neck category in that you're not putting multiple pieces together inside of this. This is a 3-piece system, while this is a 1-piece, right? So this is more of, I guess, maybe a squat neck. I'm not sure if that fits either. I'll figure it out at some point, but we'll call it. Either way, it's going to be an adapter, and it's going to fit into the adapter's shapes and categorization. And so, again, like most of my parts, it has this asymmetrical design to it. And so you get 2 looks with a flip, and you'll be able to fit this into just about any build. And so I'm just going to sit down here and play. One of the really cool parts about this adapter, and before I turn it into the pommel, I want to show you what it can do as an adapter, right? And so this is a switch section. This is the conventional switch, and so this would take a little bit of work, we'll say, to be able to make this work, right? Electronically speaking, for your current lightsaber configuration, you would have to go and play with it just a little bit. Probably cut your core in half to make it work the right way. And in fact, it'd probably be a little bit easier to do with a standard switch section over this my more modern switch section, which I'll show you that here. And so you would need to put some sort of adapting a coupler down here on the bottom to be able to make that work. But a female switch would work best to make this happen. But it would work a little bit easier underneath of one of these larger switches, just because it's got a little bit more room to be able to work with your components. I'm reaching across the screen. I know that's a big no-no. I'm trying to find one of these components to throw in here really quick, just to show you what I'm talking about, what it's capable of doing. Right. So if you had a slightly longer switch, you could make what I call wasp waist out of this, and make it into essentially like a necked down central section. It works better with my switches, I think, appearance wise, because my switch is female all the way through, while this one you have to adapt a male onto it here at the bottom. But you can get to essentially what amounts to a wasp waisted look out of this lightsaber, out of this build. I think that that's a really key element of going forward with VHC, is being able to put these sort of necked down spaces inside of here. You know, if you had somebody that was keen on building another section out of this, you could just drop this out and drill your own if you really wanted to. I think I have this is one of mine. I just want to put this together to show what that looks like for testing purposes. This would be my switch section put together with I believe it's a V2 Vire box, and then the adapter and a grip section down here in the bottom. And so, you know, it's one of the pieces that I wanted to achieve at some point, and you can flip this as well, so we can bust this out of here really quick. Let me look at that really quick again. Make sure it seats down in there fully. I think that my switch, I think this is one of my prototype switches that doesn't sit correctly. Uh-oh. I'm losing something. Something is dying. But just doing a little flip here is a really, really cool spot too. Now we have, now we have another neck down section there. Let's see here. Something happened with my stream. Yeah, so same neck down section, making a wasp waist out of it. I really like that. I think that it's fun, and it's an option. So I guess the third, we'll call it the third, because we already know it's going to be a pommel. The third piece is going to be putting it up here at the top as a emitter, or not as an emitter, but as a thin neck, basically. And so now it's up on top. Now we can put you know, another component here on top of it to make something else completely different. So that even by itself with a what the heck is it called? A dang emitter cap could become your emitter right out the gate there. It'd still use a thin neck emitter, but it would end up resulting in it would use a thin neck electronic set, but would ultimately result in your basically a thin neck lightsaber, effectively, but just with a neck down area instead of an actual thin neck look to it. And of course, all of these parts are compatible with basically all of the accent rings that are here, and so I could drop an accent ring on this and make a little bit more drama on the bottom here. I could flip this over, make it a little less dramatic, and make that transition a little bit more abrupt, right at that neck connection there. So now you have a really aggressive stopper or aggressive stop ring there at the bottom before the thick neck, the squat neck. I don't know. We'll come around to it. Well, I'm workshopping a name. let's call it that. You know, we'll just call it workshopping a name. So there you go. There's 2 of the 3 uses for this this adapter. I think I might call it like a multi adapter or something. I don't know. We'll play around with it a little bit more. Let's see what we got here. Let's take a look really fast. I don't know. I don't see peoples in here. No. I want to see who's here. I don't think I can do that. No, I don't see nobody. All right. Well, we'll come back to it. We'll play around with it a little bit more. Okay, so again, I was showing you all of these, all of the accent rings that go with, because the other piece of this is a cap end. And again, as I had mentioned, the factory messed up with the threading on this. The threading for the male component is correct. The threading on the female component is not correct. And then what's doing is it's causing issues interacting with some of the other VHC components. And so I just want to show you this. It connects all the way down together, making basically what looks like one full pommel. It has just a little line there that you can see when it glints just a little bit right there. But other than that, it looks pretty seamless. And this is really designed as a multi-component pommel, right? And this is a 2-part pommel. It's designed to work with a lot of different pieces, and the pieces in particular are the accent rings here, but also some forthcoming items. And so really, I made this as a VHC. I guess we'll say like mock. I don't want to say mock. A VHC like knockoff of the Obi-Wan Kenobi TPM hilt. But then, as I was looking around at other sabers, and if you're not familiar, TPM Phantom Menace, the saber he used as a Padawan in the beginning of the prequel series. Sorry if you hear the dogs barking or the animals moving, e.g. my children. But the saber that he used in Phantom Menace had kind of a bell shaped item on the end of it. It actually looked a lot like this. This is the VHC knockoff, I think, of that piece. I don't know that it does it justice, but it is about the right size. It's close enough to be its own, but also close enough to kind of be that one. And so I thought it would be really cool to kind of recreate it. Well, then I got to looking at it and said, you know what? This also looks a lot like a Revan. This looks a lot like a Revan end. The only thing it's missing are the lugs. And so the TPM has lugs. The Obi-Wan TPM has lugs. The Revan has lugs. There's a bunch of other ones that have lugs. So why don't I just make accent rings that fit that pattern? So I could make a TPM accent ring for an Obi-Wan that kind of bulks it up and makes it look bigger and fits that TPM shape. And then I can also make a Revan set of lugs that's in the same vein as what my accent rings are, but they're a little bit tighter, a little bit cleaner, and it actually makes the Revan bigger. I think I've got an end cap in here for a Revan somewhere. I was looking for it. I can't find it. But the VHC Revan is actually a small. It's actually small. I think it's 33 millimeters, and this would actually make the Revan end on mine a little bit bigger, so it would feel. I feel as accurate or more accurate than what you would get from the game, but I wasn't really going for accuracy. I was just trying to go for what the shape was going to be. But anyways, the piece would fit on here, and it looks like the Revan. It gives you the 6 lugs around the outside of it, or 8 lugs, however many there are, and does the thing. So it looks pretty similar to a Revan. It's close enough that it could probably pass muster if you were just like a couple of meters away looking at it. Well, anyways, again, the 2 of these pieces are interchangeable, so you can swap them from one end to the other depending on what look that you want to achieve. So I'll bring this up pretty close here to try and show you. But you can see on the interior side of this gap, there's a little lip. So it has an accent detail there at that, basically at the thin neck space that gives it that asymmetric look. So you can flip it one way, you can flip it the other way, you get a nice different look. And you will see I designed this one a little bit differently than what you normally see in my parts. Typically, and this is like one of the few deviations in the system that I have done. If you look at the Type 1 choke here, you can kind of see a lip right here on the ends, and there's a reason why those lips are there. They're 2¼ millimeters in height, and they're 33 millimeters in diameter, and they're designed for the interaction with these accent rings, right? They provide that position for the accent rings to anchor against. And so on this piece, on this pommel piece, you can kind of see the one side here is a little bit wider. So this side here is my 2½, and this side is a 3. And I'm sorry, 2¼ and a 3. And the reason why that is because when I designed the TPM, I was designing this for usage as the TPM pommel piece. And so the TPM piece needed a little bit more width in that space to be able to get the size, to be able to achieve this type of size. And so that's why this one deviates from the system just a little bit, but it's not a unacceptable deviance in my opinion. It's only about 3/4 millimeter. So if you still put your accent ring on there, there's just a little bit of a peak, that shows up from underneath of it, and it still looks pretty much the same on this other side. So you're not really missing out on anything. I think that it looks really, really good all the way around. So let's go ahead and just play around with this a little bit. I'm gonna grab some of these rings. This was one of the first designs that I kind of thought it would be neat to play around with, making a pommel that has interchangeable components. And so this one's a really hot one. This design actually reminds me a lot of the Ignition, and I can't think of the dang name of the company. Not the Ignition. Ignition Sabers is the name of the company, but it's the, oh my gosh, it's gonna slip my mind. I can't think about what it is. I'll know it if I see a picture of it, and I can point it out to you. But this one here actually was the one that I liked the best out of all of them so far. Is that it incorporates that cam ring on there. I can't really get this to focus up very well. I got to take the light volume, the volume of the light, the intensity of the light down just a little bit so you can see it. But the look of this is absolutely amazing, and when you put it on a saber, it gives that hilt just a little bit of a standoff, so it pops just nicely, and you can really, really, really see it against the against like a pommel end of a saber. So if you just did this and you didn't do anything else, right? You didn't put a ring or anything on it, that end stands proud just a little bit, and your hands interact with that dip nicely, so it won't go too much farther past the end of the saber. Really like the look of that. And you can do that with a bunch of these. This is one of the new pieces from one of the new pieces from the new lines, and this here is another one. This is a one of the greatsword styled with a concave down the center of the ring. So it might look a lot like what you've already seen with that other piece, but it's really hard to take video of reflective objects, man. This is crazy hard. Try to show this off. You can kind of see the concave in that ring, like out here in the center of it, right? It's not too bad looking. The outer diameter on all of these rings is basically like 36, I think 36.15. And so, when you're putting these on the saber, you're going to end up having, if you put other shrouds nearby or on the saber, that distance is going to be made up with the size of the shroud, right? Whoops, I put that on the wrong way. What I really like about working with this raw aluminum is that threads don't squeak. It's like when I would watch other people do their videos, the threads squeaking just kills me. But I do have to be careful not just dropping them on the ground, you know. So anyways, what I was saying is the outer diameter of these shrouds and the outer diameter of the rings are basically the same. And it's kind of hard to see, to be able to measure that in that space with everything together, but you can kind of see that that is basically the same level. And what I think is probably a better play on that is if you're going to put a shroud right there at the end of the saber, instead of putting it shroud to the end, put a ring or something there and then put the shroud in front of it. And this is why, right? So you kind of get that really cool interplay of the three different parts working together. You got the terminal ring here that's like the end of the grip, and you get your shroud over top of that, and then you have your pommel down here on the end. So everything kind of runs together and fits really, really nicely. You know, I can grab me one of these. This is a Kestis shroud. I think that it looks pretty cool in that position. I think that it would actually look really cool if you just dropped the shroud down to this almost, you know, if you put that down here, it wouldn't be too bad. Basically all the way down to the ring that's down here. We'll see what that looks like really quick. It'd be kind of hard to mount it. It'd be kind of difficult to mount it, but I think that you could get to that, which looks pretty stinking cool. I've got two Kestis shrouds here, and this is almost really close to what Ron was building previously, but you could get kind of a fully shrouded lower end if you wanted it, and you would just have like this little bit of peak down here. The subversion, that's what I was looking for. The Ignition Saber subversion, that's what this pommel reminds me of. There might have been a little amount of inspiration from it, but you know, subconsciously, I think ultimately in the end with the TPM piece, you know, it was originally intended to be designed for TPM usage or for an Obi-Wan TPM, and so it wasn't intentional that hit, but it just so happens the ring made it work, and it looks like the subversion from Ignition Sabers, which I absolutely adore that lightsaber. I think that it is absolutely amazing. I don't think that there's a single saber out there right now that trips my fancy like that one does. I'm gonna do a couple more play arounds here. There's this is the stop ring. Actually, no, this is the other concave ring that is coming with the new batch. So I've got these 4 as new batch items. And you can see kind of a little bit. It's really hard to show you that in the camera. I really got to work on like where the light is coming from. There's a lot of light spillage from the lights beyond the actual filming space. I need to kind of sequester this away so that it doesn't get so much reflection off of everything. But there's another look at one of the new rings that's coming. And then the last one, this actually looks pretty darn good. I was surprised at how well this looks. But that's again another relatively simple one. This is like a cap with a little end. Really, really simple. Super easy. What is this? What is this thing? What's this? I don't know what that is, but I got a top fan. Great Wazoo 42. Ron, you're my fan. All right. So that is basically the gist of this piece here. I'm really a big fan of it, and I like it because it's super versatile. And as we add more accent rings to it, it's just going to keep getting better and better. I've got a whole bunch of accent rings that are designed kind of in the same vein as this cam ring, I call it, in that it has a bunch of different like slices and dices and cuts And so, once we pick up some more, get some more designs going for the accent rings, which as the sole purveyor of accent rings, I already have 12, which is more than anybody else. Oh, just let me pat myself on the back really quick. Yeah, bad jokes. So this one here is actually one that surprised me. I didn't realize that it was going to look this good. This is one of the rings that I call the stop ring. I believe it's the Type 5 or Type 6, if I remember correctly. It's the one that has the larger ring at the top and a smaller ring at the bottom. They're kind of offset just a little bit. I think that's either a 4 or a 6. It was one of the ones in the second round that we were looking at. I really like this one. I think it looks amazing on this. And so if you guys get an opportunity to play with it, please let me see your builds. Use your accent rings on it. I'll throw a couple more on here. This is the beveled ring, the type 2. Oh my gosh, come on, there we go. Yeah, the threads on the pommel cap are a little tight, and so it makes it difficult sometimes to get the things connected right. So there you go, another example. This is the beveled end, or the beveled accent ring on that pommel cap and pommel adapter combination. And then I'm going to do last two actually. I'll keep playing with it just for a second. This one is pretty fetch as well. It is the Type 1.1 or 1.2, I think. Come on. There we go. This one has the land in the center of the ring. I think that it looks pretty darn good too. I believe it's the Type 2.1. That's the one. I had to look over backwards there. So Type 2.1. I think that it looks pretty darn good. Last one I'm going to play with is the actual rounded one. And this might inform me on whether I like this shape, to see if I want to put some more of these like rounded style accent rings to it. And from what I can tell already, it looks pretty cool. So if I add some variations to the ring, we'll get to somewhere fun, I think, with it. Heck, that looks stinking cool too. It's got a really nice rounded shape to it. If I could get it. I have this inverted flip from what my camera looks at. My camera doesn't start back here on this side. It actually starts back here on this side, and it points that way. So it's inverted for me as I'm looking at it. But this is the Type 3 ring, if I'm not mistaken. And I think that looks really good too, man. I don't think in any of these scenarios you're going to go wrong with putting an accent ring on this and making a really cool pommel out of it. The sky's the limit, honestly. The only thing I haven't really messed around with here is, like one of these guys. That covers it up completely. So if you were feeling froggy and you wanted to do something hidden, you could put that on there as a full-on cover-up. But that to me seems silly. Why would you cover up one of the coolest parts of your dang saber? But you can see the accent caps cover it up, so it's not really useful. Not really useful for the accent cap usage so much as it is for accent rings. I guess if you really wanted to, you could flip this over and run it the other way, but that to me seems kind of weird. I guess you could do whatever you wanted to with it in that regard. And the cap here is actually threaded the same as any of the other caps for VHC, so it's got VHC threads. And again, I had made mention that there's an issue with the threads inside of this. I measured the interior diameter of the threads, and they're like really small, too small for the M29 measurement typically. And so like they were like almost half a millimeter out of tolerance for diameter. I can't even thread it on here. It's acting funny. So it stops like a half of a thread in. But for using it on a thin neck, this one's a little bit longer of a thin neck. It's possible and doable. You can do it. Here's a shorty thin neck. I'll give you a gee whiz. Hey, this is what it looks like. I can't get it started. It's such a terrible start mechanism. Oh my god. Yeah, it's not trying to start. It's actually like literally the smallest you can get. I think the internal diameter is like 27.4 or something stupid. So that's just, I barely got that threaded on there. You can kind of see what that looks like with the thin neck on it. Now, what I am going to say is, if you choose to do this, you need to acknowledge and understand that the internal diameter on this is like 12 millimeters, and so you're not going to get a lot of sound through that. It looks cool. It sure looks cool. I guess the only thing that you could do is try and put your speaker inside the end cap, and so that will give you a lot of back spacing in the inside of the Saber, but not a lot of head space for the speaker to breathe and push sound on this side. And so it would be very, very tight to put a speaker in there. In fact, I'm not even sure that the speaker could fit fully inside that space. It's literally like 7 millimeters deep. That's it. So it would look really cool, but it wouldn't really be like perfect for sound. So I guess if the rule of cool is what you're looking for, then so be it. That's what we're going to get. That's about it, I think. All right. I think that's all I wanted to talk about over here on this side. Things to look out for. I'm going to go ahead and swap back to scene one. Things to look out for in the next couple of weeks is going to be the accent rings are going to be arriving probably by the beginning of August. And then we're going to have additional parts in that pommel coming probably by September timeframe. And so we'll be looking to wrap up the year almost completely in order to get towards Christmas, when we start running into like delays and stuff. Last year, we had a lot of issues getting parts in around the Christmas time because everybody was ramping up production for all the other things for Christmas. So I know that there's a desire to get to like 30 parts this year. We ran pretty hard last year. I just don't know that this year is going to make it. We had a lot of things counting against us with the early start, like the start in February for like Lunar New Year when it rolled over. We had a lot of issues getting back into the mix, start making parts, and then we had the tariff thing happen, and now tariffs are ongoing. It's been a quagmire for a year, but we have made some really cool stuff, and we've made new things that you haven't seen in VHC. Which reminds me, the last part of the stream, I just want to play around with some parts to make, just make a couple parts with a less design. And so I'm going to play around with some stuff in Fusion 360 here in just a second. But I wanted to talk about what is coming next. My heart tells me that I should continue pushing with this adapter thing, right? I really want to get after making a lot more of these adapters and making that adapter play with lightsabers more available. But then the other part of me says we started with shrouds. My original goal was to build a set of universal shrouds for VHC and get them running so that we had really cool shroud options. And so far, so good. We've managed to pick up the 5 or so, or 6, maybe 7 shrouds that we have for the emitters. We have ring shrouds. We've got the bands and caps as shrouds. We've got plenty more things coming, and so I really would like to continue working on the shrouds components portions for the end of this year. And so, the adapters situation this year was like really heavy on the thin neck, getting the thin neck out, and then getting this pommel adapter situation sorted out. And I think the end of this year is just going to be populated with building additional sets of shrouds. And I'm trying to get to full circumference shrouds, so like angled shrouds, things that look like Vaders, things that look like a variety of different full circumference shrouds. Maybe almost like a Kestis Survivor type shroud. I don't know. We'll see. Depends on how much that's going to cost. But I'm going to take it over to the Let's Design sequence here, and hopefully you guys can still hear me okay. I'll pull my microphone back. I just realized that I had it off screen to the right of me a little ways. So I'm going to pull up the Let's Design segment here with the transition, and look at that. A little bit of production value with the podcast, or with the Corvus Cast, right? I realized that I didn't make that small enough. I'll put my face down smaller here, and we'll play around with what we've got. So I see that I forgot to set my handle my setup here, make sure that everything fits together correctly. So I'll just make a couple of these. I figured while I'm here, I might as well talk about it and show you guys what I'm working with here. So the items that we were talking about just a little bit ago, the pommel adapter, pommel cap. You see they're named the Obi-Wan TPM pieces, and so that's what they're supposed to look like in that space. I kind of showed you previously. The future, I did make this lug ring, and so I want to show that. This is the Obi-Wan Kenobi TPM lug ring. It is an accent ring. It's supposed to work the same exact way as all the other accent rings. It's just bigger. It's got a larger outer diameter to it, right? And so flip it around, and I can slide that into place, and it basically bulks it up to about the point of what your TPM pommel looked like. It's not quite perfect, but it's close enough that it's passable as inspired by an Obi-Wan TPM pommel. And that was really what I was going for. I was trying to get this outer ring as close, like these outer rings here, as close as possible to the outer diameter that you would see. The outer diameter that you would see on the TPM pommel. So it's pretty close. It's almost there. I really like it. I think it looks good. And then to assuage you of any fears that there isn't actually a Revan made, this is the Revan. It's inspired by a Revan. It's not perfect. It wasn't intended to be perfect, but it's as close as I want to get to that Revan. And so, I can slide that up here, and the interaction that it gets, it's really close. There we go. The interaction that it gets makes it look really, really close to a Revan, and I really like it. I think that it looks good. It's got eased edges on it, and so if you've handled any of the previous or predecessor Revans that are in from VHC, or not even VHC, that are out in the community for VHC or from LGT or Nexus or anything, you know that they're a little bit harsh to handle. They have some sharp edges to them, and this one has eased edges by, I think I eased them at 1/4 of a millimeter. So basically, it should be really nice and soft to the touch when you start playing around with it. And the cool part is, even though this is on like a ring that's frictioned, indexing it is going to be easy, because you can independently index this ring to put the lugs in line with whatever part you want them to be lined up with. If you want this lug to be lined up at the 360 mark, so if you imagine the circumference of a lightsaber at 360 degrees for a circle, if I want one lug at the 360 mark, I can put it at the 360 mark. If I want the gap at that 360 mark, I can put the gap at the 360 mark. And all of that is dependent upon how you torque the part, as you hold this component in position, as you torque down the tail piece or the pommel cone, right? So that's one cool thing I think about the accent rings. And when we start building these pieces with geometric shapes in them, is if you want to index a certain way, you can independently index that part while you're torquing it down, and it will sit in that position until you decide to untorque it and put it back together the way that you want it done. So that's one of the, I think, the design benefits of the accent ring shim-cert design, is using it in that space, being able to index something or clock it the way that you want it, as it's been said inside of the community, clocking it. And so, that's what that is intended to look like. I've got a couple of other items. I really want to get these pommels generated this year at some point. Maybe that'll be a Christmas activity. I'm not sure. But for a first run at a pommel, I think that this is a really smart play. It gives us a lot more options for other uses and pieces. So I hope that you guys like it. I think that it's really cool. I really, really, really like it. I can't wait to unfurl that thing. So we're going to go up here, and I want to look at my emitter shrouds section. There we go. I've got a whole bunch of items in shroud development. You can kind of see one of the things that we don't have is full diameter shrouds. And just give me 1 second. I got to grab a drink of water. Okay, we're back. All right, I've been talking about it for a minute. This came up in May of this year. I really want to get this produced. Unfortunately, it's fairly pricey. This is one of those components I think that is important for Star Wars to have a version of it in every example of sabersmithing, simply because it's iconic, right? This is supposed to be a play on the Vader MPP, and it's designed to interact and play with my alloy system the right way with the right shape and size. The only thing that I'm concerned here about is probably this internal diameter to make sure that it's not too sloppy, because really a full circumference shroud shouldn't have any slop or play. And so it might take some fine tuning, and I'm talking like a tenth of a millimeter worth of diameter. I think I have this set at like 36. I'm sorry, it's set at 33 and 33.15, which is basically what the accent rings are set at. But if you play around with the accent rings, there's just a little bit of slop. The slop is intentional so that it works with a bunch of them, a bunch of different components. But I think with a full circumference shroud, there needs to be more tightly controlled tolerances for that inner diameter so that it fits correctly. And so this is one that I've been wanting to produce for a really long time. I think that it's an important component for Star Wars fabrication and creation for their parts. But once we get farther into the year, we'll figure out if this is going to be a fly or not. This was one of the more expensive parts to try and produce. Let me go ahead and drop this out of here. The other piece that I've got is a Graflex that I would really like to throw out here, right? And so let me see here. Where did I put it? So this is the Graflex that I've been chasing down for quite a while. It has some key design elements to it that I wanted to put in. I wanted to make sure that it had these holes so you could see underneath, and then a spot for bunny ears. And this is a custom set of bunny ears. And around the same time, Vire and Alsavers released their set of bunny ears, so it doesn't make any sense to run another set of bunny ears on the market when they're really well received on their end. But the intention with these bunny ears is that they would fit into this slot, which has a keyway, and that keyway would allow you to interact that component with another component. I'll show that here in just a second. So I had this priced out. It was fairly pricey to work this. Sorry about all the crazy movement there. Kind of all over the place at the moment. I think that fits. But you can see that there's a keyway here on this component, and it's designed to interact with another piece, a third piece, which is this Graflex ring. Whoops, I can't believe I just did that. Dang it. Let me break this back here. Whoops. Let's go back forward. So I set it and I forget it, like a dum-dum. Here we go. All right, and we'll drop that down in the hole. And so you can kind of see there that it fits up to that 33 millimeter inside diameter piece, right? I don't know if I've really showed this off before. I don't know if I should, but I am. We're at that point right now. So that mates up with that 33 millimeter inner diameter, and there's one additional piece that goes with it. So that makes this a 3-piece shroud, and this is a full-length Graflex. So this would fit basically what your standard size is on a saber. And so essentially for VHC sizing, it would run from the switch over your current emitter section, and the emitter would basically terminate like right here at the lip of the Graflex section, like right here at the lip of the S curve. And then you would end up with this Graflex ring, essentially, that would fit in that space to give you the Graflex look, the full look. And that is shrouded or not shrouded, but it's threaded. Oh my gosh, not threaded. The internal diameter of this is for blade size, so you would be able to slide a blade through here, inside through to your diameter, into your shroud on the back. Excuse me, into your emitter on the back side or on the inside, and then you would have something that looked really basically like a Graflex, less, I think, the glass eye that everybody wants on the front. And so I've been debating on whether to put that on. It's something that I want to play with. I think it looks really cool. I like it. It's a really simplified look, but there's going to be purists out there that don't want to play around with anything that isn't like authentic looking, which is a bummer because I think that this looks pretty good for what I think that it's going to be, which is just playing around with Graflex shapes. And so those two are really high on my list of things to grab, to play around with. But for right now, I do want to make. I've got one of these here. I've got a 45-degree slant shroud that is one of the items that I've been playing around with. It's pretty long. I think it's longer than it should be, really, honestly. And it needs some. I think it needs a little bit of work here to shorten it up just a little bit. And so that's what we might play with tonight, is just working on a little shroud play that brings in the size of that shroud just a bit. So we'll go to 33.10. That's enough. I think that's good enough. Let's just do some play in here. You know what I want to do? I don't want to do that. I want to go bigger. Whoops. It's actually been a little bit since I've done any sort of design work actively. I've been mostly just playing catch up with life at this point, because things have just been wild out here. There's no explanation for any of the stuff. Like, we had our air conditioning go out. We had vacation back to the family. My wife's, or I guess my father-in-law is not in the best of health right now. So if you're into prayer or anything like that, keep him in your mind. He's been sick for a little bit, so we're working on getting him well. So you can see here, this 50 millimeters is about the same length as a what the deal? It's about the same length as one of the man, it'd be really nice if my calipers would turn on and work. Nope, not gonna work. That 50 millimeters is about the length of the Type 3 body component that we have for Corvus Saber Foundry, right? And so what I want to do, I think, with this is kind of keep it at that 50 and see if I can't put a, I don't want to put a chamfer on that. I want to put an actual chamfer on the tube. I think I want to put a 45-degree cut on the tube, and we have to draw some lines here and play around with the 45-degree cut. So we're gonna do that. Let's see here. Whoops. You want to do 45. Nope, I don't want that. I want this. Oh my goodness. What are you doing? I think 135 is the right distance there that we want. Okay, now that we got that settled, we'll just shift this forward a little bit. Actually, upwards. We'll make that 45-degree cut through there. It's still not even there. We're close. Close. There we go. Nailed it. Got it. Okay. We got the cut, and we're going to extrude this thing. We want it to be symmetric because I want it out both sides to blow the sides off of that thing. Bing, bang, boom. Now we got a 45-degree bevel on one of these tubes. This is super simple stuff. Not like rocket surgery or anything. I'm just playing around with what I think it should look like to make something look kind of cool, right? So I'm going to add another circle on here, and I want this to come out to, I think, probably 37, just to give it like a little bit of shape. And I'm going to expand this kind of up that way, just a little bit. One of the issues that I have with these types of shrouds is your full diameter shroud. If you have a, what's the best way to say this? If you have a blade retention hole on the front side of your saber, or on the 90 from the front or something like that, if you're going to put a full circumference shroud on your lightsaber, it's going to be really hard to get access to that, to be able to put the shroud on, to put the blade in, to do all those things. And so one of the things that I think is really unique about like my shroud system and that slider is you don't have to drill a hole through the shroud to be able to get to your set screw or any of that nonsense. You can literally just slide the shroud down out of the way to be able to make that adjustment and change, and then put it back in the spot that you want it to be, so that you end up with something that's a little bit more adjustable than what you would normally get, I think, on your saber. So you can have that clean exterior on your shroud piece. And for something that's super simple, I really like the shape of this. I think that it's easy. A lot of people are going to like that. I think if I drop this down, if I actually just drop it down a little bit, we'll pull that down. And this has kind of an Anakin, like an Anakin Attack of the Clones look, almost, to it. It's just missing like the dovetail on the bottom side here. I think that looks pretty okay for a basic over shroud. I need to go through and look at my circumferential, full circumference shrouds from different inspirations to find out what things look the best, right? So that we can come up with something kind of cool. I'm going to put a little chamfer on this. You lied to me. I can't do that. Yep, there we go. I'm going to put a 50 millimeter chamfer. I can't do that. Psych. Got him. Let's do 45. I don't know what the number is. 42.5. 42.5. Nope, just 42. Oh, yeah? Okay, why are we doing that? Oh, it's because it was 0.4. Because it was 0.40. Man, I'm way off base tonight. It wasn't 42, it was 0.42. No, just 0.42. Okay, I got a nice little bevel on that thing. I'll put one on this bottom side too. We'll make that a 0.50 just to play around with it. And it kind of looks like a Ninja Turtles, or no, not Ninja Turtles, a Mario tunnel. It kind of looks like a Mario tube that he would be going into. I don't really like sharp edges on my stuff, so I'm going to put another chamfer on here that is 0.15, and this guy's going to get a 0.15 as well. Just something to keep the edges off of it. One of the things I'm not going to play around with is rebuilding what the screw hole is supposed to look like. Basically, on the back of this, I would put the slot, and so building that takes a little bit of time. And so I'm just kind of making a shape to see what this looks like, just to play around with it. I really like it. It's simple. It's easy, and I could put in basically any sort of emitter. I'm going to come up here and grab something from this other project that I was playing around with. I got a bishop. This is a bishop shroud, or not, excuse me, a bishop emitter, and you can kind of see if I put that emitter in here. If this is the face of it, whoops, let's grab that. Yeah, something like this could be used for a lot of things, and I've waffled back and forth since coming up with the Shimsert design. Something is calling for me to make one of these style and like emitter shrouds, but with a Shimsert in it instead of a slider. And for a full circumference shroud, I think that having it as a Shimsert is a lot more interesting, especially since you can kind of move it around and it doesn't require a mounting screw. I think that it's a lot cooler that way. And with the recent ads of like your emitter, like lock rings basically at the top, or the emitter cap rings like you saw from Vire, it makes that option viable, I think, because now you can mount that lock ring to your blade, and you can unscrew the blade from the end of the emitter and pull it out as if it was like a threaded blade going in and out. and you could keep the pommel on the top end, or excuse me, not the pommel, the emitter shroud on the top end. So I've kind of waffled back and forth on which way to build these, and I like both options. In this scenario, you can run this pommel basically, or excuse me, gosh, I'm in the pommel mindset. You can run this emitter essentially all the way up to the very top of it, and you can run it all the way down to the bottom. It's literally anywhere that you want to put it. And since I don't have the slot in it, it's a little bit harder to see. But basically, you can run this essentially as far up as you want into that position where where it's basically maxed out the emitter, and it just has a little bit of the bottom end peaking, and that of course would give you access to your set screw, probably on the back side. I think there's one. It's on the side for this pommel or for this emitter. But it would give you access to either one of your set screws on either side, and it would give you a nice shrouded look for the top end. This is actually one of my favorite emitters of, I think, all of them. The Bishop is one of my favorites from Fire Sabers, and I don't know if it's going to be going away anytime soon or not, but it has the right appearances to make it a really, really universal emitter section. And so you could even drop this all the way down here to make a like partial shroud. So this has like a little peak up underneath it here, and it also has where I could take it all the way up to the very top of this and kind of have that just barely hanging in there, so that it's just peeking out the end of it. Just enough interest there to make it kind of cool looking. I'm sure that there's a lot of other folks that would want this to be bigger so that it's wider or covers more space, or longer for whatever reason. But honestly, I think that it looks good all the way around. And I just looked at the clock. I've been talking for almost an hour. And so it's probably going to be about time for me to wrap this up, but I did want to show you that. I've got a couple of other ones, a couple of other emitter shrouds that are here, that are like full circumference shrouds. And so I'm going to scan down here to some of these other ones. So I wanted, if I was going to make these again, or if I was going to make these at all, the idea would be to offer a couple of options for these shrouds. And so there's a 50. So the shroud is a 50 millimeter bevel, or not 50 millimeter, excuse me, a 50 degree bevel, which you don't see super often. And then I also have a 60 as well, which again is one of those that you don't see very often size wise. When I say 60, it's actually more like a 20. What is it? 60 or 90. It's a 30 degree, technically speaking, depending on which way you cut the angle. And then there are 15 degree shrouds floating around that I've seen people have, which is basically a really flat, angle on this, even like flatter than this. And so my objective would be to offer at least a couple of different versions of these shrouds in different variations, so that you could see them as the different sizes that they are. Not even just different sizes, but different cuts that they are. For a 45 degree shroud, I don't need quite as much. In my, excuse me. For a 45 degree cut, I need more material for that shroud to be effective than I do for like a 30 or a 15, right? Whoops. What did I do? Don't do that again. Okay. So, these would be the examples, I guess, of these pieces. I can get, more distance here for what that shroud is. I don't have to have quite as much shroud available to be able to achieve a similar look. Just take a little bit of playing around, something to mess with, just to see what we can come up with. I know the Let's Design segment was kind of crappy tonight because it's I was showing you guys a lot and I talked about a lot of stuff, but yeah, I think that's it. I think that's the direction that I want to go. I'm going to play around with some more of the shroud designs. These are really, really plain, but there's nothing wrong with that. I think that we could be okay. It's not like it's not like this shroud design, you know, that's kind of off the wall and wild. This one is an interesting trapezoidal shape, and I really like that design for like hand grip. And I think that it'd be cool to unfurl one of these kind of trapezoidal shapes. This actually has a couple of components inside of it that are kind of hidden, but it has a nice bevel cut, and it has, I think, maybe the thruster inside of it. I don't know what the heck that is. But I really like the look of that one. I've been holding that one in reserve for quite a while, because it would go together with a... I knew that Ron was going to say something as soon as I dropped that out there. I've been playing around with that one for quite a while, only insofar as it's just going to be a giant hunk of metal, right? It's a big piece. Let me actually go open it up and find out what I have tucked inside of it really fast here. It has the angular choke, and an admiral emitter. So it was designed to fit the admiral, just give it a little peek outside of it. But yeah, I haven't seen a trapezoid cut on a saber pretty much the entire time I've been in Saberland, and so I thought it would be kind of cool to have one that had this neat sort of trapezoid shape to it and an inverse cut on this side. So it'd be really neat to hold on to that. I think it'd have a cool hand shape or a cool hand feel to it. And then you could create like a pseudo thin neck / like, you know, some sort of like interesting transition between slab sections to be able to fit. Whatever. It's not a thing. It's not a thing yet. Eventually, one day maybe we'll get to that. And I'm not sure. Yeah, we'll figure it out. Anyways, I think I'm at the end of the rope here. I think the wife is banging on the floor, trying to let me know that it's time to come upstairs. So if you stayed for the entirety of the podcast, which was an hour and 10 minutes tonight, it was a lot to talk about. I want to say thank you, and I appreciate you. I think that you guys are fantastic and awesome, and all the support that you've given me so far has enabled us to be able to expand on the VHC universe and the lightsabers that we build. And so your support is immeasurable. It really makes what I do important and fun, and it's been real, and it's been a lot of fun. I really appreciate all of you. If you get an opportunity, I'm going to plug the Discord again. It's in the chat. Come check out the Discord. We talk about all of this stuff, this development, these things, and have discussions about what the next stuff is going to be that Corvus Saber Foundry is going to make. So I want you to be there so that you have your inputs valued and the things that you want to hear and see and have done for lightsabers and the lightsaber community. So again, come out to the Discord, Corvus Saber Foundry Roost. You search us up. The invite is down here. Wait, down here in the chat. I think that's it for me. I'm Tim. This was the Corvus Cast. I'm out. See you guys.